these things. So without any more, let's go ahead and get started. And what we're going to make this week is when you guys actually come in, and for the people staying home, I'm getting this first set of ingredients, which is called mirepoix. Let's go to start on this puppy. All right. Okay, so soup, stocks, and sauces. This is like the basis of most cooking. You will see this in so many. Hold on, we got another chat. Do we have Zoom if we're at home? So we have to, J. Everett Light is mandating that we have to sign in. You guys have to check in with us with Zoom to do your attendance. So every day, basically I'm going to be set up in the kitchen, and you guys will come in, get your stuff set up in the kitchen. I'll do the attendance at school, and then the people who are not here, just get on the Zoom. I'll check in with you while we're doing class in there, and then you can check right back out, okay? I'll kind of go over what we're doing. Okay, so the basis of all these different types of things, every nationality has their own soup, stocks, and sauces. Okay, and I'm just going to show you what the base stuff is. Let me move this down. All right, so stocks has 4 major essential parts, and this is for, like, say you're making chicken and noodle soup. Okay, you have the major flavoring ingredient. I would say 90% of the time is some sort of bone. All right, some sort of animal bone. If you're making fish fumet, fish stock, it's fish bones. If you're making beef stock, it's beef bones, chicken bones, veal bones, whatever animal bone you're using. And the reason you use these is because bones have the most flavor in them. They have collagen, and they have a lot of the vitamins and minerals and all that kind of stuff. All right, those are like the building blocks, and that's where you get your major flavors. You could cook the meat and the fat and the skin, but the bones is where most of the flavor comes from. All right, these are soup bones, as you see, but you can actually, they sell these at the store. These are like shank bones. Typically it's a leg bone that they use for larger animals. Chickens, you just put the whole chicken carcass in there. All right, so major flavor ingredient 90% of the time is a bone. 10% of the time it could be a vegetable stock, so it's just veggies, or just a court bouillon, which is just different aromatics, okay? The liquid is typically either water, wine, or what they call a rewash, where after you make your stock, you put more water back in there and just boil it for a little while just to get like a flavored liquid to use for your next stock. Okay, mirepoix. And we talked about this at the beginning of the year. Mirepoix is your mixture of ingredients or a mixture of vegetables that you put into your stock. The basic mirepoix is celery, onion, and carrot. And the percentages of these, I'm going to show you in a second. Aromatics, it sounds just like it says, you know, aromatics. It's like the smells, the flavors, all the profile. And those could be anything. Typically, garlic, ginger, herbs, spices, like whatever you know you want to add to your stock. Okay, mirepoix. Coarsely chopped onions, carrots, and celery provides flavor base. A lot of chefs will have you save stocks like peels of carrots and stuff like that and throw them in. I'm not going to make you guys do that because a lot of the stuff we're going to use, hold on. A lot of the stuff we're going to use, like if we make a stock, I just want you guys to get a lot of practice with these knife cuts, okay? So I don't want to have 10,000 pounds of peels in the freezer and then not use these cuts at all. So we're going to use the main cuts. And that gives you a lot of your vitamins, minerals, or vitamins, nutrients, and flavors, especially celery, onion, carrot. But they have to be done proportionately. So most of the time, you want 50% onions, 25% carrots, and 25% celery, all right? That's the basic mirepoix. This could change. Like this says, white mirepoix, substitute parsnips. So you take the carrots out. So you don't want, some people don't want the carrot flavor, or they don't want the beta carotene coming in there. They don't want to have any, they want a more clear liquid. And you can add leeks, onions, mushrooms for carrots. There's a lot of different stuff people do. It just depends on what flavor you want. Aromatics, herbs, spices, flavorings create a savory smell. So you can see aromatics here. which would be thyme. Um, I love using fresh herbs into these, and you just kind of tie them up. You're straining this out anyway, so you can put, I mean, if you have bones in a pot, you're not going to just not strain this. You want to strain this several times just to get all the little pieces out. And then there's two things. I've heard both of these concepts. When I was in culinary school, we never did the sachet de pieces. They're actually sound about the same to me. Bouquet garni means bag of herbs. Bundle of fresh herbs, parsley, thyme, bay leaf, tied together. And then the reason you tie this together is because sometimes you get these little fragments of stuff, like little sticks. So you put them in the bag, you submerge it in there, you tie a rope to it, and then when the stock is done, you just pull out the whole bag, throw in the trash. And then types of stocks. So stock mainly is flavorful liquid, simmering bones or vegetables, 24 hours to cook. It's cost effective. It's the building block for soups and cream and sauces. Hold on, let me let her in. Depending on what you're making, every chef will have something different. A lot of them never add salts. When I make stock at my house, I make it so it's ready to serve afterwards. So I add salt to mine, and I cook it a little more vigorously than most people do because I don't want to let this cook I don't want an open burner going on in my house while I'm asleep. So I cook it a lot faster. If we make stock here, we would turn this on low so it's a slight simmer, and you want to slowly just gelatinize everything inside that pot. So when it's done, you guys have seen several of videos I make where I show you the stocks I make at my house, and it looks like Jell-O. Like you could shake this stuff and it jiggles because it's gelatin. The gelatin typically for like even Jell-O, like the flavored Jell-O packets at the store, gelatin comes from animal bones. That's where that comes from. They probably have synthetic stuff now, but typically that's where it comes from. And they have different things now also for flavoring. So if mom or dad, grandma has something called bouillon cubes or the base, stuff like that at this, at their house. Like if they're making a soup and they want to add some more chicken flavor to it, they might get some chicken bouillon, which is like a little cube that's chicken flavored and it's got a ton of salt and stuff in it. That's one way to add flavor. But typically, like we'd use base here sometimes, like if we don't have time to make soups or stocks, we'll buy chicken base, which is the same thing. It's just a little different consistency. And it just adds a really rich flavor. It's basically like taking the stocks they make and then cooking it down to a paste. That's essentially what it's supposed to be. Okay, so types of stocks. You have bouillon, which is a liquid simmering from meats or vegetables, and it's kind of like a broth, all right? So that one could be your leftover, chicken, whatever pieces, and you just want to make like a flavorful liquid. Brown stock, amber colored liquid, simmering beef, poultry, veal, or game bones, and they're browned first, which means you would take your beef bones, you would roast them, all right? Your chicken bones, beef bones, veal bones, you would roast them first so they get a nice rich color, then you make your stock. Court bouillon is an aromatic vegetable broth for poaching. This is typically what we poach fish or shrimp in. So in restaurants, they would use like a white wine. Then they'd put herbs, vegetables, and make this real flavorful liquid, and then cook the protein in there. All right. So when you see here poached salmon, some people might just boil, poach it in water. But if you want it to taste better, you want to cook your ingredient, if you're poaching it, in something that tastes good. Like you should be able to eat, sip the court bouillon first. Like whatever your cooking liquid is, you don't want that to taste bland because your food's going to taste bland. So you always want to make sure your cooking liquid is very flavorful. Fumet it's similar to fish stock. Highly flavorful stock made with fish bones reduced to intensify flavor. Fish fumet is literally stock, but it's cooked down. So when you add this to, like, say if you're gonna do like a pan sauce, or we'll do something with the fish fumet at school, if you guys eat fish, and it actually thickens up. Glaze or gloss, like a demi-glace, is a reduced stock with a jelly-like consistency made from brown chicken or fish stock. So what this is you take your basic stock that you've made and you keep cooking it. That's what reducing is. So if you start out the pot this big, you cook it, cook it, cook it, cook it, cook it until it's about this much. And what you have left is what you guys might consider gravy. Like it's so thick, but there's no thickener in it. It's just the reduction of the sauce. And the only thing left is the thick, gelatinous animal bone. Jus, rich, lightly reduced stocks, sauce from roasted meats. Typically, jus is like, say, if we did a roasted, like a roasted inside round or like a roasted leg of lamb, the juice that comes off of that is your jus. You could add a little bit of stock to that, cook it down a little bit, and you'd serve it. You probably heard this at like Arby's, where you get the roast beef au jus. That's where they give you a little dippy cup of sauce. That's what that stuff is. Remoulage, that's what I was mentioning earlier. Remoulage is a weak stock, bones used from another preparation, replace liquid, water is liquid, rewetting. That's what it basically means, is rewetting. So remoulage. So when you get done cooking all your bones, I do this at my house too. You get done cooking all your bones, you strain out the stock. That's ready to go. Your bones are still somewhat good. So you could put more water in that and just bring it to a rapid boil or put it to a simmer and let it cook overnight, or just like cook it down a little bit. So you can still get some, it's like a very weak flavored stock. And then you can use that for your next real stock. I know I'm saying stock a lot, but you guys will understand this. Vegetable stock made from mirepoix leeks and turnips, tomatoes, garlic, seasoning, darker stock. Yeah, don't put, and this says avoid leafy greens because they turn the stock bitter. Don't put asparagus in that. But if you have like tomatoes, say if you have a garden and you have some peelings left over, or you just have some random vegetables and you're like, they're about to go bad, I don't know what to do with this, you can make a stock with it, like a broth. Put everything in the pot. If you want to roast them for some color and give a different flavor, and then you just simmer it for a few hours and then strain all the stuff out. And then what you have left over would be perfect for like a tomato soup. What's the minestrone, whatever soup you want to make from it. White stock, clear, pale liquid, simmering poultry, beef, or fish bones. This is where you don't roast the bones first. All right. That's how you get the white stocks. And then as far as stocks go, they decrease food and labor costs because buying the pre-made little bouillon cubes for a restaurant is very expensive. And then you get to use up a lot of the stuff you have, okay? And you'll understand this, like when I show you guys these videos of me cutting up a whole chicken, if you're making food for your house, it's cheaper to buy whole chickens than it is to buy chicken breast, okay? Because for a pack of 3 chicken breasts is probably $6 or $7, whereas you can buy an entire chicken for that much, and you have the wings, legs, thighs, and chicken breast, and bones left over to make your own bone stock, especially with Thanksgiving, because everybody, I use a ton of stock in my house, but people typically use it a lot too during the holidays. So it saves on bases and commercial concentrates. Okay, preparing the bones for stock. A lot of times they want you to do blanching, and this is for doing like a white stock. You can do this for your roasted too, is you put the bones in water, turn on the heat, wait for the impurities to come up for a slow boil, and you'll see all this foam come to the top. That's the impurities. Basically, some of the blood, stuff like that, you want to skim that off, all right? It's just like the foamy funk that rises to the top. That's what they want you to remove. When you brown them, roast them at 400 degrees for 1 hour. That's what they look like right here. They get nice and crispy. Place in the stock pot. Put cold water. You always want to start with cold water. Never start with hot water, because the cold water, especially when you put your vegetables in, helps release the albumin, which is a chemical. Let me let Malachi in. Which is a chemical inside like leeks, some onion, that clarifies your liquids. So you always want to add cold water. Sweating, so bones and mirepoix release flavor. That's when you just start sauteing these things in the pan, and you'll start to get aromatic where you can smell them. Low heat, it softens them up. It might brown them a little bit, and gives off, especially like your herbs. Once your herbs hit heat, you'll hear them popping and cracking and making a crackle sound. That's what you want. because what that does is it releases the natural oils inside those and makes them more fragrant. Okay, so blanching bones, 8 pounds of bones, cover with cold water, bring to a slow boil, skim all the funk off the top. After the boil, drain the bones, and they're ready to be put into your stock. Quality of stock is judged by flavor, body, and clarity. So the flavor, it should taste good. You know, if you add a little bit of salt to stock, it should taste like a good soup. The body of it, it should have, it's easier to tell when it's cool because it starts to get a gelatinous look, and then how clear it is. And that's all done. So if you look and it looks like just a big cloudy mass and you can't see it or see through it, that means you didn't do a step properly. That means you probably added hot water instead of cold. You didn't take the impurities out, you know, that kind of thing. And then the thing with this is if you're making a beef stock, you want it to taste beefy. You know, if you're making it for soup, you know, if you're making a beef and noodles, you want it to taste like beef. All right. Yeah, so this says strongest flavors, definitely fish, chicken, beef. If you're using fish, never use anything that is not a whitefish. So don't use salmon for stock because it's so oily that it just overpowers. You want to use like a whitefish, whiting. You could even do like catfish bones, stuff like that. Neutral flavors, veal, and then they should be crystal clear except for fumet. Okay, so mirepoix. Size type for stock, shorter cooking times, sliced and diced in half, half-inch cuts. Longer cooking times, just throw in the whole pieces. So if you're doing like a fish stock, you want to use little pieces of vegetables because it's not going to cook very long. If you're doing beef stock, you can throw in large chunks of vegetables because it's going to break down over the hours that you're cooking it. And then preparing ingredients for stock. You have your bouquet garni or sachet de pieces, which is your bag of herbs. Add to the simmering stock. Heat brings out the flavors, and the last hour of cooking prevents flavor loss. So if you're cooking your beef stock for 24 hours, it's saying to put your bouquet in there at the very end. If you're doing one at your house, I just put the herbs and spices and stuff in there just so it cooks because I'm not going to cook this for 24 hours anyway. Okay, I know this is a lot. As far as the stocks go, so you have your different types need different variants of bones, okay, and water. So if you're doing chicken, beef, veal, 8 pounds of bones, 6 quarts of water, 1 pound of mirepoix. Fish are a little more delicate, and they don't have as much gelatin and flavor in them because they're really small. You don't get really huge bones out of fish. So 11 pounds, 5 quarts, and 1 pound. And then vegetable, 4 pounds of vegetables, 4 quarts of water, and 3/4 pound of mirepoix. When you're preparing this, combine major flavorings and a cold liquid. All right, cold is necessity. So it brings out all that albumin and some of the other things from the vegetables. Bring to a simmer, skim is necessary, add mirepoix and aromatics at the last hour of cooking. Bring to a simmer is the main thing. I cook mine a little bit faster than a simmer just because I don't want to cook it for 24, like I said. The simmer develops body, flavor, and color, and then you strain it. You want to strain this very, very well so you don't have any little pieces in there. Fat removal, you'll see this. We're going to make some this week when you guys come in. I'm getting chicken bones as well. So I'm going to have chicken stock cooking, and I'm going to use your mirepoix to cook it. So when you see at the end, you're going to see this big, jug of dark chicken stock, which is going to be like really gelatinous and jelly-like. And at the top is just going to be this hard, like, it looks like hardened candle wax, but that is the fat at the top of this thing. I scoop out some while it's cooking, but mainly once it's cooled, you can put it in the fridge and then just take off the one massive thing. I'll do a little demo of that. So the fat removal lift is scraped away. And it makes it a little healthier when you take it out. Okay, as far as cooling this is one of the major things. This is how I like to roll right here, is using an ice bath. So you transfer this to a container after it's strained. You put it in an ice water bath, all right? And you make sure that ice water is at least as high, if not higher, which won't be higher because of buoyancy, as the stock, okay? You don't want stock way up here and your ice water down here because it's not going to cool it down. Or you could use an ice wand. And then once again, as far as your cooling goes, it has to be down to 135 to 70 within 2 hours, and then 70 to 41 in the next 4 hours. Okay, so that's your soup, stocks, and sauces. Well, that's the stocks. Let me move. I know that was fun and exciting. Why don't this move? All right, here we go. If you guys go ahead and go on your Canvas, there's a couple questions for you. And I'm going to upload this video because it won't let me upload the PowerPoint, but I'll have the video on there so you guys can, if you don't remember from the questions. All right, so I added a new tab on here, a new module called Chapter 17, L1, Soup, Stocks, and Sauces. And here is the homework for today. It's Chapter 17, L1, homework number 1, day 1, stocks, PowerPoint. Okay, so click on this. There's 4 questions, multiple choice about what we just went over. And then I'm going to upload our Zoom real quick. So is this scheduled at 7:20 now? No, Dylan, it is Tuesday through Friday, 7:20. Mondays is still 8 o'clock. So
we got to do that back to school quiz.
Yeah, that was for Friday, last Friday. All right. Anybody else have any questions? No? All right. You guys have you have till 8:40, so you can go ahead and sign out. Use this time to answer those questions.